We will now reconvene the special city council meeting. Madam City Attorney, do we have anything to report regarding closed session action?
There were 3 items on the closed session agenda. Item number 1, the city council gave settlement authority to its legal counsel. Item number 2, the city council received a status report but took no action. And item number 3, the city council received a report and gave direction to city staff. And that ends the closed session report.
Thank you. The special city council meeting is now adjourned. The time is 6:50 p.m. I would like to welcome members of the public participating in the virtual city council meeting. As the state continues to be under a state of emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and state and local officials continue to impose and recommend measures to promote social distancing, and meeting in person presents imminent risk to the health and safety of attendees, the Downey City Council has adopted a resolution authorizing the use of remote teleconferencing pursuant to Assembly Bill 361 and Government Code Section 54953E. The resolution will remain in effect until March 10, 2022. If at any time during the virtual meeting, members of the public experience any technical difficulties with Zoom or YouTube live stream, we ask that you please switch to the alternate platform. Instructions on how to access the virtual meeting via Zoom and YouTube live stream have been attached to the City Council meeting agenda. If at any time during the meeting the city experiences any technical difficulties with one of the platforms, I will recess the meeting to allow members of the public time to switch to the alternate platform. Before I begin the regular City Council meeting, I would like to inform members of the public that I will be taking public comment via our teleconference line. Those wishing to address the City Council may call 562-299-6622 when I make that announcement. As established by the Downey Municipal Code, speakers will be given the allotted 3-minute speaking time for public hearing items and 1 4-minute speaking time for agenda, consent calendar, and non-agenda items. The total communication period is 30 minutes. The mayor may extend or limit the time for individual speakers or the maximum time for oral communications before the public comment period begins. I remind speakers that their comments will be recorded. Once your time has ended, the call will be immediately disconnected. For those who have submitted their comments in writing, your comments will be read into the record, and no additional public comment will be permitted via teleconference. I would like to remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you are participating telephonically. A language interpreter is available in person for those members of the public needing interpretation during the public comment periods of the meeting. I would like to call to order the regular City Council meeting. The time is now 6:52 p.m. City Clerk Duarte, will you please take roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez.
Present.
Councilmember Ashton.
Present.
Councilmember Frometa. Councilmember Frometa.
Did she not log in?
Oh, no, I'm here. I just had a problem unmuting. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Present.
And Mayor Pacheco.
Present. I would now like to call upon Councilmember Frometa to conduct the invocation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. If we can please stand. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for your goodness, and thank you for bringing us together this evening. We pray for the matters before us. We pray that we would have the wisdom and the integrity and the conviction, Lord, to make the right decisions for the city of Downey. We pray for this council meeting, and we thank you for our first responders, our fire and police, and for the city staff that continue to work tirelessly on behalf of the residents. Thank you for your protection in the midst of chaos and strife across the world. And we pray also for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine as they fight for freedom and peace and safety. Please stay with us, Lord God, during this meeting. May we take decisive action, and may we act in unity and bless the city of Downey. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. I would now like to call upon Councilmember Ashton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Remove your hats, place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now is the time for city council member announcements, requests for future agenda items, conference meeting reports. I'll start off to my far left with Councilmember Trujillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hello to the Downey residents. In particular, I want to acknowledge a group of residents that came to see us before the council meeting. Unfortunately, we are still closed to the public because of the pandemic. I believe we're going to be taking a vote on that today, but I want to acknowledge you. I hear you regarding the future of businesses in Downey, and we will have much discussion on that. I would have a couple of requests for staff. I'm a big Carpenters fan. I would like staff to look into hiring a design company to come up with the design for a statue to be erected with staff recommendations for a location somewhere with ample parking. The statue should include both Karen and Richard. Probably we'll save money if we put Richard just at a maybe keyboard and not a full baby grand, right, which he would like. I think it's time that we have something permanent that memorializes such an important part of our history. I'm a big believer that pop music is probably the greatest artistic contribution that our country has made to the world. I mean, you have people like Elvis, right, Michael Jackson, Madonna, and then you have the Carpenters, who in the 70s were huge worldwide, and they were from our beautiful little city. So I would like to see something permanently erected in their honor. So if staff could look into it and perhaps bring some plans on how cities go about erecting these statues. On the day we unveil those statues, we are going to be trending on Twitter, I promise you that. We're going to be putting Downey in the map where it belongs with such important history. So if staff could look into that. Also, had really good meetings with our city manager and Maria Rivas and our Sister Cities organization. As you know, I'm promoting Sister Cities. It's one of the feathers in our hat here in Downey. When President Eisenhower asked us as Americans to consider this people-to-people exchange across borders, it was Downey, all right, 1960, I believe, who picked up that torch, heard the calling of our president, and formed the first Sister City chapter in the world. And for some reason, the city they chose is Guadalajara, Mexico, which is close and dear to my heart because I am from Jalisco, and Guadalajara is the capital of my mother's and my father's country and their state. So I will be traveling down to meet the mayor, Lemus. I'll be meeting the mayor of Zapopan. They have actually reached out and are interested in building relationships with Downey. So I'll be taking part in that trip. Thank you to Vicente Ortiz for organizing that. I am traveling at no cost to the city. It's entirely out of my pocket, in case anybody's asking. I want to thank the Department of Public Works. I'm starting to see a lot more trees that are being replaced. As you know, the last storm, we suffered a lot of loss of trees. So thank you very much to them for picking up the torch on replenishing the trees. Had meetings with the Downey Theater Committee, with Stay Arts Committee, and then we had a strategy session where we brought across the city, from the city, all the groups that deal with arts, culture, and history. And we are in discussions with these different groups about moving forward, because I'm a firm believer that the quality of life for the residents of our city here in Downey are better if we have arts, culture, and history. So we will be working on that. With that, Madam Mayor, I think that concludes my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Alvarez.
Hi, good evening to everyone. Welcome to the City Council. I know nobody is in here, but they're listening to us. First, I attended to the Contra Cities Conference and Legislative Tour in Sacramento. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with our state legislators on ways to increase resources for our communities. And more importantly, I look forward to working with them to help our Downey residents. Second, I wanted to announce that a pending lawsuit has come to an end. This lawsuit was used as part of my efforts to bring rent and stabilization to the city, and I am happy to see victory for residents' First Amendment and to see justice win. Third, I want to ask my colleagues to support me in asking our city staff for a report on how the County of Los Angeles COVID eviction moratorium impacts our residents and what other surrounding cities have similar ordinances. Fourth, I wanted to get a status report on traffic accidents from 2020 to the present time. I did request this report 5 months ago, and I do want to see reports on this topic due to business and community have reached out to me, and I want to see what is it that I can do to make a better traffic in the city of Downey. Also, I wanted to say that I wanted to thank the Shower of Hopes. It went well this Monday. And also, I wanted to say that we're working with Aldo to fix some cats and dogs that are in the street with some organizations. And I really look forward to see a better care of the animals in the city of Downey. That concludes my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councilmember Ashton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just really briefly, I know that I really don't have much pull in this after tonight, but I know the state passed Assembly Bill 43, which dealt with speed limits within the city and the city's rights to be able to set those limits a little bit easier than just using the traffic surveys. I see that other cities are starting to take advantage of some of those abilities to be able to lower speed limits on certain streets, and I was hoping that our city would be able to start working on that as well. Again, just the system that has been in place for the longest time pretty much rewards speeders, because our traffic surveys are done every 5 years, and they're based on the 85th percentile of the average speed. So if everybody goes faster on that street, then we would have to raise the speed limit on that street to match it. But with the Assembly Bill AB 43, that allows the cities to kind of adjust that. And so I was hoping, I'm hoping that we can kind of work on some of those issues to where we can lower speed limits on certain streets that really shouldn't be as high of a speed limit as it is. So with that, that was really the only comment I had. Madam Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you. And then we have participating virtually, Councilmember Frometa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope everybody can hear me okay. It is a pleasure to join you all this evening. I am actually in the beautiful city of Orlando. I am still here with the Downey High School dance team. They did win, and I do want to give a shout out to them. They did win a second place on the Nationals. Yes, and we've been here for a few days. We are scheduled to depart tomorrow. And while everybody's out celebrating, I am here in my hotel room joining this meeting. This is too important not to be here. I think it's important for our residents. I always say engaged communities are strong communities. And I am dedicated to continuing to represent our community. And as was mentioned a short while ago, many of you reached out to all of us through social media, through email, through phone, regarding a certain establishment in this city. And we will be having additional discussion on that item later in this agenda. But I do want you to know, Downey, that I have been aware and I'm not happy about that. I want to report, I had the opportunity to do many things these last couple of weeks since we last met. One is, as Council Member Trujillo mentioned, I did have the opportunity to visit with the Arts and Council and the workshop that was held. Once again, I think we agree the importance of bringing these various artistic organizations together in Downey and moving forward in unison. I attended the social for sister cities. As has been mentioned, we need to continue to support that, and I am an advocate of our sister cities and how we can better represent and continue to organize that as a community. I also want to let you know, I attended a very special meeting with the SoCal Gas last week, and was joined by one of our council members in the groundbreaking of the first hydrogen home here in the city of Downey. And that is such a huge accomplishment. And I do want to extend my appreciation for the hard work that city staff, certainly Gil and Aldo, and all of the people that work together with SoCal Gas to bring this project. This will be the first hydrogen home pilot in the country. And again, our city is known for innovation, and our city has been known for continuous technological advances. And I think this, again, as we continue to look at environmental sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint, that was a really important project. And I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to all in the city that have been involved in this. I will continue to be supportive of those efforts. I also want to acknowledge the fact that today is International Women's Day. And all around the world, we applaud the efforts and the sacrifices that women in science and education have made in other fields to the advancement of our world. But I also want to take an opportunity to acknowledge what is happening across the world, and know that even though this is our small city of Downey, we too have brothers and sisters and neighbors who have relatives in the other side of the world. And with this current conflict with Ukraine and Russia, our heart breaks, and we continue to pray and send our good thoughts for a resolution to that conflict. And last but not least, I do want to also thank Public Works and the staff for the social media campaign that began some weeks ago. And thank you, because that was an ask that we had on council on education regarding the benefits of expanding our tree canopy in the city of Downey. Many of you are aware that we embarked on a very on a project to plant hundreds of trees across our city, and some of these trees did not fare very well. Some residents wanted some, others not so much. But the importance of expanding the tree canopy so that we can continue to work on our environment and purify the air in our city, because of the location where Downey is located around all the major freeways. So thank you for continuing to do that social media campaign. Just one item that I have for staff, and that is halfway across the country, I was made aware of a street takeover just a couple of days ago on Old River School Road and Firestone. And again, street races and street takeovers seem to be happening more frequently around us, certainly in our city. And I want to ask our Downey PD to please continue those efforts with speed enforcement and to, perhaps bring back a report to us as far as what other initiatives we can establish and we can accomplish to reduce the speeding situations and the racing that we continually see in our city. With that, Madam Mayor, that will conclude my comments for tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Fermetta, and we miss you here in the council chambers, and I hope you're at least taking some time off to enjoy the time with the family and all the friends that you're with over there. But we miss you over here in Downey.
Thank you. I miss you too. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you, if I didn't extend my thanks to Councilmember Ashton. I know this is your last meeting tonight, and I thank you for your 7 years of service to this community. I wish you well, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you for staying up late, because I know there's a 3-hour time difference. My wife is actually probably pretty close to you at a conference, so she's in Orlando as well. So take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to welcome everyone to our virtual council meeting. It's kind of lonely in here without all of you here participating with us, but I just want to recognize you for at least attending virtually. Couple of events that I attended on February 24th and 25th. I was over at Cal City State Board in the city of Walnut Creek. On the state board, we discussed various legislative bills, and we either support, oppose, or stay neutral on certain bills. We had a lot to discuss, and there was quite a number of bills that were up for discussion. Also last week, I was also at Contract Cities for their legislative tour. And at the Capitol, we held a press conference with respect to something that is happening here in the city of Downey. Way too often, we are hearing a lot of complaints about catalytic converters being stolen. And there is a bill, Senate Bill 986, which is authored by Senator Umber and Senator Portantino. This bill would make it easier for law enforcement to trace and identify the stolen parts by requiring the vehicle identification number to be etched onto it and prohibiting cash sales. Interesting enough, like Councilmember Fermetta mentioned, we are having a lot of street racing and a lot of intersections being taken over by certain individuals who are doing donuts in the middle of intersections. It's not something that's only happening in Downey. It's something that is happening in our neighboring cities. We are constantly complaining about it. I've been in communication with the mayor of Paramount, and they have that as a big deal, a big issue. It is being dealt with also in the cities of Bellflower, in Pico Rivera. So what we need to do, if there's something that needs to be done, is we need to make sure that we have legislators who are going to create legislation that is going to prevent this from happening, or at least provide our officers with the resources to prevent this from happening. There is a Senate Bill 1742. This bill would create new crimes of vehicular manslaughter while driving and speeding, and vehicular manslaughter while driving in a reckless manner. I feel like there's still much more to do, but this is a step in the right path. So I think the important thing is for our residents to be informed as to these legislative bills. And I'd like to, as a matter of fact, I would like to see if staff can track these bills, both of these Senate bills, 986 and 1742. Also on Saturday, I had the pleasure of attending the Cops and Kids event at Golden Park. This is an event that's always been near and dear to my heart. because I was introduced to Cops and Kids event when I was still am. I'm a Kiwanian. It was something that was brought up by a Kiwanis member from the city of Long Beach. And I'm glad to see that we're still doing it here in the city of Downey, where we have our officers play different sports with the kids, from basketball to football to relay. I know our police chief was in attendance, and a lot of our officers were also in attendance. So I thank our police chief and our Downey police officers who were there, out there playing with the kids and having a lot of fun. Also, on Sunday, I attended the CERT graduation over at Fire Station 1. Congratulations to all the graduates. In attendance with me were Councilmember Trujillo and also Councilmember Alvarez. I know we have a great CERT team, and I know this because we had a family attending from outside the city of Downey. This family lived in Whittier. They felt like the CERT program in their city wasn't up to par. So they came to our city to attend the CERT program. So this is a true testament as to how great our program is. So thank you, Fire Chief, and thank you, Rakti, if she's listening, or if you could tell her, this is a great program, and she puts in all of her heart into this program. So thank you. And another great thing about Downey Fire, I had the pleasure of doing some videos with our Downey Fire. We're going to be doing a monthly videos, changing up the topics on a monthly basis. And this latest one for the month of March will be about smoke alarms, the importance of having one, the importance of making sure that they're operational, and also how many times a year they should be checked and when to change the battery. So please stay tuned as to that important video, which we will be announcing or be coming out fairly soon. And one more event that I wanted to bring up is Sister Cities meeting will be held on March 16th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Golden Park. And I just want to conclude with just saying, like Councilmember Fermetta, happy International Women's Day. Today is the day. Today is the day that we thank all the women who inspired us, who challenged us, who made us grow as individuals, because the sky is a limit, as you can tell from just having our female police chief, the first female police chief in the history of Downey. I am always constantly going to say it because I am extremely proud of her and her accomplishments, but there's so many amazing women. We have our female city attorney. We have former female mayors. We just have so many people that we should always be thankful. For me, my biggest thank is to my mother, amazing, amazing woman who really taught me how to be a public servant and how to be there for the community. So she will always be the one I truly admire and always will look up to. And she is definitely the one that I always say I'm in public office because of her. So hopefully she's listening and from home. And that concludes my comments. And again, thank you everyone for joining us at our virtual council meeting. We are now going to go on to public hearings. There is one public hearing item in this evening. This item is a zone code amendment to establish standards for tattoo establishments and amend home occupation standards. Introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Downey amending Title IX Land Use to authorize body art facilities in the commercial zones of the City of Downey, to amend the conditions on the operation of home occupations, and to prohibit specified activities as home occupations. The hour having arrived, the public hearing is now open. The time is 7:19 p.m. City Clerk Duarte, do we have proof of publication?
Yes, Mayor.
Can I have a motion and a second to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
City Clerk Duarte, can we take a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ashton.
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa.
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Yes.
And Mayor Pacheco.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously.
City Manager Rivas, do we have a staff report?
Madam Mayor, we do have a staff report that will be presented by our city planner, Crystal Landavosa.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, you're asked to consider a zone text amendment that would establish regulations for tattoo establishments throughout the city. This amendment is required as a cleanup item to update the municipal code and ensure compliance with court rulings. For reference, this matter was actually brought to the city's attention after receiving written correspondence from an attorney regarding the matter. Upon researching this, staff did find a 2010 ruling where the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals determined that tattoo establishments provide artist expression which is protected under the First Amendment, and municipal codes that prohibit these uses were unconstitutional. To clarify, the Downey Municipal Code does not specifically prohibit these uses. However, the commercial land use table states that uses which are not identified in the table are prohibited. This amendment will now introduce tattoo establishments and regulations for them into the zoning code. Tattoo establishments are subject to regulations from different outside agencies, such as OSHA, CDC, and the California Health and Safety Code. These establishments within the city will be required to comply with the sterilization, sanitation, and safety standards that have been established by these agencies. The proposed amendment will allow tattoo establishments in commercial zones where professional service uses are allowed. This would include all commercial areas along our major arterials like Firestone Boulevard, Lakewood Boulevard, and Imperial Highway. Home occupation regulations will also be updated as part of this update to clean up existing regulations and specify that tattoo establishments are not allowed in residential areas. Again, this amendment is proposed as a cleanup item to ensure that the municipal code is compliant with the most recent court rulings and ensure that proper standards are in place to allow the operation of tattoo establishments in commercial areas only within the city. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes. When I was running, I met this lady who says, I want you to know that in Downey, we don't do the 3 Ps. And I said, well, what are those? She says, we don't do pot, porn, or pawn shops. And we used to not do tattoo shops, but now apparently there's a couple in the city. How many tattoo shops do we have today that we know are operating?
That the city has issued a business license to 1. So there's
Firestone Boulevard?
not on Firestone Boulevard.
So 1, do we have a limit? Okay, so apparently we can't prohibit tattoo shops from coming in.
Correct.
But we can regulate where they're going to be, right?
They have to be treated similar to personal service uses. So that would be in commercial areas only. We looked at potential distance requirements, but because we don't apply those to other personal service uses like beauty salons, we wouldn't be able to apply it specifically to tattoo establishments.
What do we need to do, or can we limit how many tattoo parlors or shops are going to operate in our city? Can we limit that, Madam City Attorney, or Crystal, if you don't know, if you know?
I don't.
I think, I'm not sure. That's the answer. We'd have to research to see whether
Yeah.
that would burden First Amendment activity by limiting the number. That would be my main concern, is that we're burdening First Amendment activity.
Well, and then the other question, that brings up another question. What is the definition of a tattoo? Because I see places that offer like the tattoo eyebrows, where women get their eyebrows tattooed, right?
Yeah, and that would be established, the definition would be established with the new ordinance. Essentially, it is the pigmentation of skin. So the microblading and that type of things would fall under that category. And the reason we want it to fall under that category is so that it does comply with all of the health and safety regulations.
So this is I'm sorry?
Sorry, Councilmember Trujillo?
Oh, so this is a cleanup provision you said brought to us to the attention of an attorney who made an inquiry. What was his inquiry?
The inquiry was in regard to the fact that he did have a client who wanted to open a tattoo establishment within the city. He wanted to open it in any area of the city. So he challenged the fact that our municipal code, again, because it didn't specifically prohibit it, but it prohibits it just by the fact that it is not identified in our table.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember
Thank you.
Alvarez?
I do have a
Oh.
question. Hi. Yes, I know it's a little hard to engage when you're virtual, but I do have a question, and thank you, Crystal, for the report. My thought and my question is very similar to Councilmember Trujillo, and that is, again, we are all supportive of First Amendment expression, but at the same time, I also want to know, Madam City Attorney, what is the look into the number of establishments of tattoo parlors that we can permit in this city.
What
Again, I
might-
think it's important.
What I
for us
might
to
recommend is
discuss.
if you could, the most important is to get this on our books so we don't get any future legal challenges. But you could also direct me to research the issue and report back if you want to look at limiting the number. I can do the research, provide you some guidance, and then we could take it from there. But the most important is really just to get this in our books so we don't have any other legal issues.
Great. Then what I would like to do is ask you to please research this and bring it back to us so that we can look into limiting the number.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you.
if I may?
Yes.
So, I'll try to be brief with this. So we currently don't allow tattoo shops per the code. That's what before tonight, we didn't allow tattoo shops.
The strict interpretation is that they're not allowed because they're not identified, yes.
So, but we have one in the city right now that we know of?
There is one in the city, yes.
And how did that kind of happen?
I believe that the approval was issued probably under similar circumstances, that there was a challenge in regard to what the court rulings had been versus our non-compliant municipal code. So I believe that approval was done, again, to appease a challenge that was made. So what staff is trying to do here is make sure that we just have clear regulations across the board, and that it's very clear that the municipal code is compliant and we don't have further challenges and unique circumstances occurring. We want to be fair across the board.
And then besides the attorney that brought this up to you or to staff or whomever, are there any other interested applicants that want to open up a tattoo shop that have come to the desk that are currently asking?
That I'm aware, there's two. There's the one who hired the attorney to provide the written correspondence, and there is another who earlier this year, I believe mid-January, began inquiring and was aware that this ordinance was moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments before
Just,
I take public comment?
Madam Attorney, if you could also do research on location regulations, right? First Amendment, I think there's some exceptions regarding you could zone certain areas or something like that. You can't prohibit them, but you could kind of have them where they're away from schools, for example, just so we could consider that. But I am prepared to make a motion to accept this amendment establishing tattoos.
We're gonna.
I think we need to do public comment.
first.
Got it.
Okay. I will now open this item for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the city council regarding this public hearing item may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those who submitted written comments, your comments will be read into the record and no further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council regarding this item. City Clerk Duarte, have we received any written correspondence to be read into the record?
No, Mayor, we did not.
City Clerk Duarte, do we have any speakers on the line?
Yes, Mayor, we do. Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
My name is Nigger. I want to open a tattoo shop in Downey, Mommy. And it's racist when you have zone locations. Why can't we have tattoo parlors? I like the fancy word text code for tattoo parlors and body art. Besides, women get tattoos on their asses and on their ankles and on their foreheads when they're criminals. But let's not be discriminatory. Having tattoos doesn't mean we're all criminals. I got a battleship on my asshole sinking deep into the ocean.
Speaker, please stay on topic.
I'm talking about body art, lady.
We're talking about an ordinance.
Correct. And there's only one tattoo shop in Downey. And you should pay attention to California Health and Safety under 1193000 section. You know, I am on topic. There's nothing identified as to racist and discrimination on your municipal code for simply having art placed on our body. And before Crystal L next time gets up to give the public testimony, she should have all the facts and information, not go back to you, dumb attorney. Look at Mommy up there. For all we know, she has her police boyfriend's name on her shoulder or on her back, right, Mommy?
You're off topic, second morning.
Oh, now you want to violate my First Amendment right as I
Hang
talk
up. He's off
about
topic.
body art and tattoos. Now you're
Okay. Any other speakers?
Yes, Mayor. Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Hi, this is Juan Martinez from the 4th District here in Downey. I just wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Trujillo, that there's a tattoo parlor shop less than 100 feet away from DB Lounge and less than 300 from Ola. So for a council member to try to sanction the areas where establishments should be is pretty alarming, elitist, and reflects monopolyism. So please leave the restaurant, the tattoo parlors alone, please. Thank you.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Zhang Li, and I thank you for giving this chance to public comment regarding the zone for tattoo store. Yes, as in introduction, some of the staff mentions about the First Amendment. I do not have any, against of regarding the tattoo store, but since this is like the foundations that you want to build up for the Downey, not only for researching for how many stores that should be limited in the. Also, before that, I think it's better to find out the influence of the tattoo stores around the community. So not only the limiting the numbers, but as one of the council member mentions about the distance from the schools or in certain public state places. So that's I want to Downey City council member may concern about before making a decision. Thank you.
Please state your name and begin speaking.
Yeah, BC from the 3rd District. If I think the city, if we're going to allow new tattoo parlors, it should be under the model of the new hydrogen house that the gas company has shown, also in the Downey Patriot. They should make it a full-on hydrogen house but with no subsidies to build it and no subsidies to run the business within that building. That would be something interesting, that we could be innovative and do something new. A tattoo parlor in a hydrogen house. Thank you.
That is all, Mayor.
Unless there's any other questions or comments from my council colleagues, I will now entertain a motion and a second to, actually, I will now entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
So moved, so ordered by the mayor. Unless there are any comments from the council, I will now entertain a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance.
Madam Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk Duarte, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Councilmember Ashton?
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa?
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacheco.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you. Now is the time for public comment on agenda, non-agenda, and consent calendar items. Before we begin the public comment period, I would like to remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you are participating telephonically. Due to the high volume of calls expected tonight for the items on the agenda, each speaker shall have 2 minutes to address the council regarding agenda, non-agenda, and consent calendar items. There will be no time limit for public comment this evening. Members of the public who wish to address the city council regarding agenda, non-agenda, and consent calendar items may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those who submitted written comments, your comments will be read into the record and no further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. I remind speakers that your comments be addressed to me and not to any other council or staff member. City Clerk Duarte, have we received any written correspondence on agenda, consent calendar, and non-agenda items to be read into the record?
Actually, Mayor, we did receive a total of 57 written public comments this evening. There were a total of 47 items regarding the Ojos Locos business in the city, 1 in support of the business and the revenue it will bring to the city, 1 from the Ojos Locos business clarifying the uniform that will be worn by their waitresses, 45 in opposition due to concerns regarding its location and proximity to local schools, increased crime and violence, noise, parking, and traffic, the attire worn by staff, family values, transparency, and additional bars in the city. We received 1 public comment regarding in favor of rent control. We received 1 public comment regarding the fiduciary of public officials. We received a second public comment on rent control. We received 1 public comment regarding crime at Apollo Park. We received 5 comments for item number 10 on the consent calendar, 1 opposing regulations and restrictions on uniforms for businesses in the city, 1 opposed to the ordinance to regulate the uniforms, and actually all 5 of those were in opposition of regulating uniforms and businesses. And then the last comment is regarding item number 12, administrative report on the agenda from the Downey Tenants Union in favor of the subcommittee to study rent stabilization. All of these public comment emails have been provided to the city council at the dais, and copies have been uploaded to the city website for members of the public to view.
Okay. Thank you. And City Clerk Duarte, do we have any speakers on the phone?
Yes, Mayor, we do.
Okay.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Good evening. My name is Howard Friedman, and I'm a resident of Downey. I'd like to speak to agenda item number 10, regulation of business attire of restaurant workers. I'm not particularly in favor of the ordinance because I think it's kind of a backup effort to address the issue that has arisen regarding Ojos, Locos, the restaurant that is proposed to open where the Denny's used to be on Firestone Boulevard. As I understand it, the Planning Commission granted a conditional use permit for Ojos Locos, and I apologize because I'm getting some backup noise from viewing the meeting on Zoom. I and others really don't understand why the conditional use permit was issued. It apparently allows use of the former Denny's property by Los Locos, and Ojos Locos has other branches elsewhere, which I understand yield the following information. Number one, female service people are attired in lingerie to do the servicing of drinks and food at the locations. There's a bar of minors on the weekend evenings, and a cover charge. And most particularly, there's a reported increase in criminal activity in the surrounding area of the restaurants. Things like public fights, drugs, public drunkenness. And it's hard to understand how Downey would be granting a conditional use permit when there's this kind of a history. Further, it's unusual. I understand I've not seen the actual city staff report, but there's a city staff report that concludes that
Sir, your
the
time is up.
establishment
Thank you.
would result. Downey would be granting.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
It's me, Mommy. So, first of all, I don't care about the carpenters, Mr. Trujillo. They're old. We need to put a Metallica statue. Metallica. As far as
I'm sorry, the speaker needs to be commenting on agenda items.
isn't this non-agenda item time?
Yes.
So why are you discriminating against me? I'm speaking on non-agenda items, and you're interrupting me.
Please continue.
Yeah, you just want to talk about faggots like me and interrupt. So let me go back to what I was saying. Regarding traffic, we ought to not put a sign that says "Don't say faggot." But we should get those cars impounded and have those people have their license restricted for 6 months so they know what it's like to kill people on the street. And regarding Fat Mommy in Florida, Southern Cal Gas, kiss my ass. International Fat Women and Cunts is the acronym. Can't understand not to seriously understand. If you lose fucking weight, maybe you could breathe better instead of planting trees because you don't have the maintenance crew to manage trees and tree roots that disrupt our properties, you dumbass. Leave us. And then, Mr. Ashton, goodbye. Next time, stand up for the First Amendment, and maybe you'll have a better time serving us for those 7 fucked up years. And now back to the lowly Mommy Pacheco.
Time's up.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
This is Juan Martinez from District 4 here in the city of Downey. I just wanted to talk about item number 9 briefly, the destruction of public records on finance. I already sent a records request to Alicia asking for a digital copy of that information prior to its destruction. And I do want to know if what will be happening, what's the policy for the destruction of those records, and will there be a digital copy or a translation of it? Because this isn't clear, and I really would like to see this council clarify how they're going to approach this situation. Thank you.
Mayor and council, it is actually very clear. It's in the resolution. We've added language in the resolution for destruction that says that before the records are destroyed, all public records requests have to be cleared before we can destroy. So if there's any pending records requests, we take care of those before we destroy any records. So you can adopt the resolution, and that's what will happen.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Next caller.
We take care of those before we.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Hello, my name is Zhang Lin. First of all, I want to speak about the Locos bar that I just was informed when I went there today. Since there are not many people going to the meeting, but there was a lot of people staying outside regarding this Locos bar. I mean, this is really ridiculous how Downey really wants any kind of this kind of bar, any restaurant to make the Downey to be destroyed. I really want to make sure the influence of what you allow to be recorded in the future for your standing. And also, I want to speak about the vaccine mandate. CDC says recent facts about COVID-19 vaccines that the genetic material delivered by mRNA vaccines never enter the nucleus of your cell. Basically, previously, CDC, all the scientists, they estimate that this vaccine does not affect our human DNA. But recent research by the Sweden found that this mRNA vaccine enters human liver cell, and it triggers the cell DNA in the nuclear, leading to make the mRNA. So this, whatever that has been speak about, that is not going to affect our human cell, it is going to affect. So whoever's mandate of this vaccine, it is against our human right to destroy whatever that we have in our human power, the natural power that we have. And please consider of the Locos bar allowance, since this is not the right way to deliver our Downey into the good hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name and begin speaking.
Yes, hello. My name is Adrian, and I'm speaking on behalf of Ojos Locos restaurant that they want to open. I'm just very concerned because, Downey has always been, as one of the mayors said, arts and culture, and we have history. And we are home of the Vikings, home of the carpenters from the 1970s, and home of the mansion rise. And so we have, as a community, a responsibility to keep that, image that we worked so hard throughout the years. And I would like everyone to think about how opening up a restaurant, that's what they call it on Wikipedia, because I went on to search a little bit more about the restaurant, and they don't even regard it as a restaurant. They literally call it a restaurant. So how is a restaurant in Downey going to, bring about art and culture and history into the city? How is that going to bring that a brighter future to our community? And as another mayor said, engaged communities are strong communities. And I have literally talked to all my neighbors around the street, and mostly females, and let's be honest, are opposed to it, while the males are, oh, that's fine. They're kind of like in the sidelines, just sitting down, letting all this happen, because they're not the ones who are going to be complaining about that. And so I'm not quite sure who is in charge of authorizing that, contract or term, but I did go online to see who the committee is, who I think they're called the Planning Commission Board in Downey. And if I'm not mistaken, there's 5 and only 1 woman, and she did not engage in the
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
name's Jesse. I'm calling about the Ojos Locos.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I've been living in Downey for over 28 years. And I moved here because it was a family-oriented city. I understand you guys are trying to, get businesses, create income, but I don't think that's the right element you want here. I think it'll bring the wrong people here. You guys need more steakhouses, sushi places, good high-end restaurants. Try to get a Trader Joe's. There's money in Downey for that. It's just, I know those places go and do surveys on education and whatnot in the areas. And I don't know for what reason they don't pick Downey. There's money here for that. You guys keep letting these places in, all you're going to do is get people like Southgate and all these areas around us to come in and speed through here. I think it'll bring the bad type of people over here, to be honest with you. I mean, I get it. You guys probably already approved it, and this is a process to go through. I used to own a restaurant, and I know what the process is when you get an alcohol license and whatnot. And I just think Downey's not for that. If you guys could find someone else that's more family-orientated, it'd be better. I mean, Downey has a name from years of being the best city from the local areas. And so for that reason, I think you guys should try to maintain that image, you get all these people speeding through here and whatnot. I also think you guys should update your streets. A lot of these streets need stop signs. You guys are used to all older people that used to live here and drove different. 30 years ago, people drove different in Downey. And I think you guys need to update your street signs.
Thank you. Your time is up. Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Yeah, BC from District 3. Well, everybody's on board now. We're seeing that this was allegedly a meeting that was eminently unsafe for the public to come into the chambers, but only 2 of the 8 that are on the screen have masks on. The rest of you do not have masks on. So your words are falling very short, very insincere. Also, we know that you all are not supporting the recall of George Gascon. You need to come out and publicly announce, if you're going to fight crime, that you need to publicly endorse the recall of George Gascon. Because we know all of you are either from related to or associated with the Downey Democrats or the Downey Progressive Democrats. And we know all of you now support the mask mandates. We know you support defund the police. We know you support the Downey Arts Coalition, who are coming in there repeatedly wanting money, our money. We know that you supported the church closures. You supported the church closures, and you even fined the pastor over at Downey Calvary Chapel, tried to shut them down. These emergency declarations need to stop. They need to be rescinded at every level, federal, state, and county, and city. And we know you've supported the vaccine mandates. And what they've done to people is you've ruined their careers. You've blamed the unvaccinated people, that this was a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That is nothing but apartheid and segregation policy.
Your time is up. Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Rebecca Cantor.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Cantor, and I live in the city of Downey. I would like to support Council Member Catherine Alvarez, who is concerned about her constituents in her city. We are experiencing a very difficult time, especially right now with COVID. All of these people that have lost their jobs, Many people have to work 1 to 2 to 3 jobs to be able to take care of the rents. We're in a crisis right now, and many people are experiencing having to be homeless. I urge that the city take a position on rent control. We have to do something, and I hope that you will consider your constituents and all the wonderful people that live in the city of Downey. We need help. So please vote for rent control. Thank you very much.
Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Karina Salcedo, and I'm a lifelong resident of Downey. I'm calling in about the Ojos Locos that's trying to open up here in the city. So I'm in opposition of this happening. I do understand that today part of the meeting was going to be to discuss something about the dress code. I want to move the attention away from the employee dress code and redirect it to the very real issue, which is the long list of illegal and violent activity connected with every Ojos Locos location. This business has withheld wages, violated labor laws, they have sexually harassed their employees, they have been charged with over-serving alcohol countless times. Violent fights, shootings, and murders are a routine occurrence at these bars. The most recent shooting occurred just 2 days ago on March 6th. Here's a long list of just a few incidents that have happened at Ojos Locos Cantina. Excuse me. FYI, cantina translates to bar, not restaurant. So I'm not sure why this place is being treated as a restaurant. It is very clearly, it is a bar. So here's just some headlines from some of the news titles that I can just pull up with a quick internet search. On August 9th, 2018, Ojos Locos Sports Cantina sued by EEOC for sexual harassment and retaliation. February 14th, 2019, Ojos Locos Sports Cantina to pay $700,000 to settle EEOC, a federal agency, sexual harassment and retaliation lawsuit. In this case, the sports bar subjected employees, including teenagers, to sexual misconduct and punished those who complained, the federal agency charged. Employees dealt with unwelcome conduct, including requests to show more cleavage and comments about their breasts and buttocks. In at least one case, a manager texted an employee with a photo of his penis. Women that complained were fired. On February 11th, 2020, multiple cell phone videos.
Your time is up. Hello, please state your name and begin speaking.
Yolanda Anderson from District 3.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm calling in regards to Ojos Locos. I and many other residents strongly oppose the opening of another bar in our city, especially one so close to the high school and apartment building for elderly persons, the Downey Civic Center, and many churches of various denominations. The opening of this establishment is going to bring more people from outside of our city, increasing public drunkenness and an increase in DUIs. Other locations of this establishment in other states have reported stabbing, shooting, and gang activity. Our great police department is already stretched thin with residential burglaries, street racers, and now this bar will be another blight on our city. Our city of Downey and our residents deserve better than this low-class establishment. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, that is all.
That is all?
Yes.
Okay. Now is the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 8.
And I would like to go ahead and move item number 10. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
City Clerk Duarte, can we please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Councilmember Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashton,
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mayor Pacheco.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously, with Councilmember Ashton pulling item number 8 and Mayor Pacheco pulling item number 10 for separate discussion.
Thank you. I will hand it over to Councilmember Ashton. I'm glad you pulled number 8 because that was one that I was going to pull myself.
Yeah, I just thought that it'd be good to have the discussion since it's up for renewal. And, I mean, technically, masks are not required in most public spaces now. But just wanted to talk to, have you guys discuss this to see if we still wanted to push this for another month or let it go ahead and elapse.
Hi, if I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I have the same, not concerns, but I have the same thoughts. As our state moves in a different direction, I think it's important for us to also consider the changes, the changes in CDC guidelines, LA County guidelines. As we know, LA County had been heavily impacted with cases, and as such, this county had the most stringent requirements. But staying as these have now relaxed, I think it's important that we do not renew this teleconferencing, that we move forward and move to open our council chambers and have a little bit more normalcy.
Councilmember Alvarez?
That's all I have.
Yes, I wanted to say that the state opened to have no mask in indoors and outdoors no more. So I believe we should proceed to open the chambers. I believe there's a lot of people who wants to come in and be present. And that concludes my comment.
Do you have any comments, Councilmember Trujillo?
No, Madam.
No?
I wanted to make one comment, was that if you do not renew the resolution tonight, it doesn't mean that if things change dramatically with the status of any future variants or the COVID numbers, we could still do AB361 resolution in the future if need be. So it's always a tool there for the council as we progress through this pandemic.
Okay. Do we need to make a specific motion?
Because we're not
Nope.
approve it, so
Yeah.
we just table it.
Okay, so
No action.
no action. Do we need to make a motion as to that, or we just table it?
It would be clear for the record if you just made a motion not to renew the resolution. That would probably be good enough.
Okay. Is there a motion not to renew the resolution?
I'll make the
So
motion to
moved.
not remove
And then,
renew
I'll
the
second.
resolution.
And then seconded
I'll
by
second that.
Councilmember Frometa. Can we please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez? Councilmember Ashton?
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacheco.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you. So the reason why I pulled item number 10 is because this has become such a hot topic here within the city of Downey. All of us have received numerous emails. We've received messages, seen comments on social media. And so, and I also can't forget we also had a protest outside our council chambers to those residents that were participating outside. I apologize I wasn't able to stay longer, but we did have to conduct the city business. I know two of my council colleagues also went out, so I did want to acknowledge that Councilmember Trujillo and Councilmember Alvarez did go outside. They were listening to the residents, speaking to the residents as to this item. I apologize I had to take them away. But I know we had a lot of matters to discuss, and I'm always extremely mindful of everybody's time with our staff that are here present, with our police officers, our police chief, and our fire chief. I'm always cognizant of their time, and so because of that, I apologize for having to pull both of you or trying to pull both of you away. from outside. I hope I didn't offend either of you, but know that I respect that both of you were outside. So the reason why also I brought this up is because I am glad that we are establishing an ordinance as to the attire for baristas within the businesses here in the city of Downey. But I wanted to make sure we clarify some statements and comments and questions made by the public. I wanted to see if there's anything that the city can do as to preventing this business from opening in the city. What are the ramifications? I just wanted to get input from staff. I don't know if I should kick it over to city manager.
Madam Mayor, certainly this has been a very important issue that has arose in our community. I think it's important that we address some of the concerns and some of the comments that were made during the public comment period. Today with us is our city prosecutor, Jim Eckert. He can answer some of those questions that any of the council members might have. Jim, do you mind coming forward, please? I think the first question is, could the city have denied the business from coming into the city?
So the type of business that's actually being operated is a land use that's actually permitted by right at the location that they're in. So the city doesn't have the authority to approve or deny it. It's a restaurant that's coming in. What the city did have the ability to do is issue the conditional use permit for purposes of a DJ. That's what was before the Planning Commission, and that was the sole issue that was before the Planning Commission, was that aspect of entertainment.
So could the planning commissioners have said, we do not want your business to open in the city of Downey?
No, not as part of that planning hearing, no.
And what would have happened if the planning commissioners would have said that?
They don't have the authority to actually do that at all. So it would not have legally prohibited the business from opening up. All they could have done was deal with the ability for this business to have a DJ.
There were two permits before the Planning Commission. One was a site plan application. The second one was a CUP, but for DJ only. So the first one was just the site plan, was their proposal to expand the location from the existing Denny's to a larger restaurant. And the Planning Commission was just reviewing the layout of that new construction. That's it. Now, they could have denied that, but then they would have just been able to build right on the Denny's footprint without any Planning Commission approval. If that site plan would have been denied, they would just have built right on that Denny's footprint. The other one was a CUP. The CUP was discretionary. The Planning Commission could have denied it. They wouldn't have had any music. That's the only effect that a denial of the CUP would have had. But they could still open because it is permitted, that use is permitted as of right there at that location, because there was a Denny's there. So could the Planning Commission prevented the restaurant from opening there? No.
So, I'm sorry, I don't.
I just want to make sure we make sure that we don't digress, because it's not about Ojos Locos and the approval of the application. This is about the ordinance regulating attire. So I just want to remind the council that we ought to move in that direction in that discussion.
Madam,
I think Councilmember Alvarez had a question.
Yes, that's fine.
Councilmember
So-
Alvarez? Or
For a restaurant to open as a restaurant, I mean, most restaurants nowadays tend to have alcohol service as well, because they tend to make money off of that. The profit margins are larger for that. But is there a percentage of sales that has to be attributed to food for a restaurant to be considered a restaurant over a bar? Because, I mean, there are bars that serve food, but then they're considered bars.
Part of that is going to depend upon the type of ABC license that they have, that is the license that they get from Alcohol Beverage Control. If they have a type 48, they're allowed to sell liquor without any food service at all. They could sell food, but they're not required to. If they're a type 47, which my understanding is that Ojos Locos will be a type 47, then they are required to be a bona fide eating establishment as ABC defines that. And typically that is 50.00001% food versus alcohol.
That is a condition of approval on the permit, on the approval that was given to Ojos Locos.
So then if a restaurant is not meeting that 50% or 50.0001%, what can the city do, or what does the ABC do with that situation?
So if we're talking in general, ABC can go through its process, which would be to suspend the license, well, to issue formal notices, to suspend the license, and ultimately to revoke the ABC license. In general, in some instances, the city might have some additional remedies available to it. So in many of our businesses in the city, they're required to get a CUP to sell alcohol. This location in the downtown area is not required to do that. So the city would be able to potentially revoke a business license if they are violating the law, and that would be a potential violation. So that would be something that the city could look at. The city could look at other types of administrative or civil remedies for a business that's violating the law. But obviously, we wouldn't know that until we get to the stage where they actually start operating. I mean, as of now, typically we just rely on the expectation is they will comply with the ABC license that they get.
Thank you.
I have two questions. Based on the ordinance, can the business have any type of contest, like it's being shown in the media?
Are you talking about the proposed ordinance that's before the council today?
Yes.
Could they have a contest?
Like a bikini
A
ordinance?
bikini contest?
Actually, our city attorney can answer that.
Bikini contest.
Those contests are special events, and we would consider that entertainment, and they are not permitted to have those special contests, any form of entertainment other than DJ. And I think the permit also allows just pay-per-view, like if there was a boxing match or something. But other than that, there's no hard body contest, no bikini contest, no hot bod contest. None of that is allowed at this location.
And that's in the CUP, correct?
That is correct.
What can the city do if they don't follow this ordinance?
If they don't follow the proposed ordinance, assuming that the city council adopts it? Well, there would be a variety of issues that could be done. One is they could receive administrative citations. The business they could be issued administrative citations. Additionally, the city could consider any type of administrative remedy with respect to, again, revocation of the business license, revocation of the conditional use permit. Again, if they violate specific conditions related to the conditional use permit as far as like the type of entertainment that they have. And ultimately, if those things are revoked, the entertainment goes away if the CUP for entertainment is revoked. And if we revoke the business license, the business would become illegal and would have to shut down.
How many citations do they have to need?
There is nothing set out under the code that requires a minimum number of administrative citations. If you're asking about how many need to be issued before we would revoke a business license, there's nothing under code that sets out a specific number.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fermetta, did you have any comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that our city attorney, for the record, was explained to our community residents the type of permit that this establishment was given. And I think she's already done that. But again, I want to make sure that our residents know and understand that there's, no city can prohibit a business from coming in. We can establish parameters for that, for how they operate in our city. And certainly we have, I have been aware and I have been attentive to our residents in regards to this issue. My concerns are very similar to what the concerns that have been raised over the last several days, the proximity to the high schools, and again, having a police department that is already spread too thin in many areas, the potential for problematic behavior is is added, anytime a new establishment, but especially if it's viewed as a place where more alcohol than food is going to be consumed at any given time. And so again, Madam City Attorney, if you can reiterate for the record and for the residents so they can clearly understand what this establishment will be able to do based on the conditional use permit that was granted. Because again, we've heard tonight about the other states that allow the different contests and the different types of entertainment. So if you can please one more time, so that our residents, if they haven't been able to capture that information. Thank you.
So what they'll be operating there is a restaurant that serves alcohol under a Type 47 alcohol ABC license, which means they have to have food combined with alcohol at all times. The food has to be served at all times that they're open. They will have a DJ from Thursday through Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they'll be able to have music in probably about 6 o'clock, 6:30-ish until about 1:30. And then on Sundays, the music starts 6 o'clock to about 11. And that's it. The music is the only entertainment they'll be allowed to have, and they'll be allowed to have the pay-per-view. And that's really what the operations are all about. There are no special contests, no special exhibitions, no special events at the location. All they're permitted to have is DJ.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes. So I am not going to accept that. Well, let me just plain and ask you. Are you telling me that today we would not be able to stop a stripper joint from opening up in Downey? Is that your position?
Well, to answer your question, the answer is no, you wouldn't be able to completely prohibit them anywhere in the city. That we do have zones in which adult entertainment may go. This type of a business, however, based off a Ninth Circuit decision, is not deemed to be adult entertainment. The Ninth Circuit has found that the serving of food, in the particular case that they were dealing with, it was coffee, but the food and beverages by somebody who is scantily clad does not constitute expressive conduct that's regulated by the First Amendment or protected by the First Amendment, whereas adult entertainment, a stripper joint as you call it, would be covered by the First Amendment and would receive First Amendment protections. So those ones we would not be able to completely ban. We would be able to regulate them, time, place, manner restrictions, locate them in particular areas of the city. And we do have current regulations within our zoning code that regulate not only the zoning of adult businesses, but also the conduct of adult businesses. This, however, is not an adult business. This business does not meet the definitions of what adult entertainment would qualify for. So this business would be a restaurant, and no, we wouldn't be able to, under our current code, to ban the restaurant from opening.
Did you get an opportunity to see the videos of what the owners of this restaurant, the corporation or whatever they are, what they do in Texas on these special events? Did you see the videos?
I've seen videos and photos, yes.
In your opinion, is that adult entertainment, what they're doing in Texas?
So, I mean, that's a very broad legal question that you're asking. So there's very specific legal definitions, both under our code as well as under the case law definitions. I can't tell you how Texas defines adult business. I can tell you that here, we define it the way that the Supreme Court has come down, that the activity that they're doing has to be focusing on specified anatomical areas or specified sexual activities. If it meets that criteria, then yes. And the courts have even come down to what constitutes focus on it, a certain number of days per month, a certain number of hours per day, so on and so forth. If they meet that, then yes, it could be deemed an adult business. But what I can tell you is, as of right now, what's being applied for is not an adult business. And so oftentimes we can say, yeah, there might be a business that how it operates in Texas, but they're not proposing on operating that type of a business here.
What differentiates how they're proposing to operate it here versus Texas?
Well, I can come in and say, in Texas, I operate an adult business. However, here, I want to open a restaurant.
But
the
my
fact
question
that I name
is,
it the same thing.
I need to know, what is the difference that they told you and how they're going to operate their business here versus Texas? What is the difference? What are the details?
What they've indicated both in the letter that was submitted to the city council as well as to the applications that they've submitted is that they are going to operate a restaurant that serves alcohol, that they're going to utilize a Type 47 ABC license. I believe the letter from the attorney indicated to the city council today that, I believe it was submitted to the council, was that they do not intend to operate in lingerie. They don't intend to operate in bathing suits. So they don't intend to do those, what they call special events that they do in Texas in the Downey location.
Did they show us any other location? So this is like a different version. They're saying that they're Ojos Locos, but it's a different version.
It's the light version.
Did
yes.
we see any evidence of videos, or are they running this version, this model, anywhere else in the country?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm not aware.
So this would be the first one.
It sounds like it.
I think it's the first one in California, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
But also,
I recall
if I may,
Yes.
no, if I may, that again to Councilmember Trujillo's point, again, you know, and to our Jim, our city prosecutor, you know, intent is different than action, and I think what will differentiate this is the fact that we can regulate the types of entertainment that they can host at this particular location. And City Attorney, you spoke to that some minutes ago, that regulating, and then that's, you know, why we're discussing this ordinance, that, okay, if we, you know, by law cannot stop them from opening, but we can, what we can have control over is the type of conditional use permit and the type of entertainment that they bring. So again, those contests and those scantily clad, you know, women that we see in the videos from Texas and in other places will not be here because the only entertainment allowed will be that DJ. I mean, that is what we are doing to regulate this. And if I'm misspeaking, please correct me. But is that correct?
So just to be clear, from an entertainment standpoint, yes, you're accurate. The entertainment is just limited to DJ and the pay-per-view television events. The outfits of the servers is something different, and that is not being proposed as entertainment. That's being proposed as the uniform, if you will, of the servers. I can read to you from the attorney's letter, General Counsel for Ojos Locos, who wrote in this letter that she sent into the city council, simply said, our staff uniform for the Ojos Locos location does not and will not, and that's bolded and underlined, consist of lingerie or bikinis. That being said, that's, again, as you indicated, the intent. We don't know. That's the purpose behind the regulation and the ordinance that's being proposed today, is to ensure that not only this business, but other businesses comply with the standards that would be set forth within this ordinance.
My residents want to know. I'm sorry. Yes?
No, so sorry, Mario. And again, I wanted to go back to City Attorney because, again, the most important thing that we need to address and that we are addressing, I believe, and I hope the residents are hearing us loud and clear, how concerned we are about this as well, is the type of permit that they will be receiving will not include the types of shows and entertainment that is being allowed elsewhere. And so I want to
That's correct.
bold and underline that. And I want Yvette for you to once again clarify that on the record.
As a condition of their permit, they are only permitted, this is their permit, their CUP permit for DJ. DJ music is the only entertainment they will be allowed to have at this location. All of these special hot body contests, bikini contests are not permitted at this location under their CUP.
Councilmember Trujillo?
So this toned down version from what looked like a stripper joint in their versions in Texas, it's more like Hooters.
That is what they are stating.
That's what they're saying,
Correct.
right? See, I don't know if I believe them. obviously, but what can we do about it? So here's what my residents want to know, Jim. Is there any way we can legally stop Ojos Locos from opening up in our city?
Opening up anything in our city?
Well, this business there at the old Denny site.
No, and that's the thing
There's
is
no
right
way.
now they are permitted by right to open up a
Okay.
restaurant at that facility.
Okay. Has anybody told them that the community doesn't really want them here?
I think they know.
Yes.
They know that.
They are
know.
very
They know
aware.
that.
I told them.
Okay, and they still
I
want to
think they
come.
know that by now.
Okay.
I told them.
And they still want to come. Have we ever done business dealings with these owners before?
I have not,
No.
not to my knowledge.
It's all
No.
new. Who are the owners?
They're a corporate owner out of Texas. We haven't met the owners. They had a entitlement group that submitted their application, so it was an ownership.
Okay.
And Aldo, how did this business come about? You know, all of a sudden was there. How did this business all of a sudden choose Downey? Do we know that?
No, we don't know. There's a vacant site. Downey's an attractive town, and so I can only assume that their broker saw the site and it was an appropriate site in terms of size for them, and they wanted to be in California, so it was just an opportunity that had arisen due to a vacancy.
So I just want to be clear, and I want the residents to hear this, as our city attorneys, if you will. Legally, again, your position is there is no way that legally we can stop Ojos Locos from opening up at the old Denny sites under their revised uniform. They're telling us that they're going to have a standard uniform. By the way, do we have a picture of that standard uniform?
There is a picture that was submitted by the attorney.
Can we show
It's in
that to the
staff
public? Can we show
Yes.
that to the residents? So residents, I hope you heard what our city prosecutor said. So the next question is there legally any way that we can pull their CUP? Now, I understand that the CUP just allowed for a DJ, right? And it was an extension of the site, perhaps. That's what the planning commission considered? Those are the two things before them.
The site plan and the CUP for DJ.
Okay, so even if we were to pull that, they can still open up as a restaurant with no music. Is that what our city attorney said earlier?
That's correct.
Okay, so even if the planning commission had voted differently, that's not stopping the business from opening. They just wouldn't have music and this site that they
The
requested.
existing
The,
site.
the,
Yeah.
the expansive site. They'd still be able to stay within the footprint of
That's
the
right.
Denny's
Okay,
location.
do we have the picture?
They need to bring it up.
Okay, okay, I would like to show that. So they know that the community is very concerned, right? The owners know this, and they still want to come here, and they're going to demolish the property and, as far as we know, start building. Is that right? Is that where we're currently at?
That is my
Yes.
understanding, yes.
Okay, so is there anything, okay, I've said legally, not that I'm promoting that we do anything illegally. Do we know of any other cities and whether they've engaged in any campaigns to stop a business from coming in, and what strategies they may have used? Have we?
This
do we know?
particular business or any type of business?
Just, do we have any surrounding cities, and maybe I should request of the staff to see if there's ever been any history of a city that's been successful in stopping something that's described as, not classy, from coming in. I wonder if there's anything out there that we can show so that we can tell our residents perhaps that they can engage in those types of strategies where they directly write letters to corporate owners, right, of Ojos Locos to say, hey, I'm a local mom and I don't like your business coming in. I would like to see if we can, since we can't pursue the legal avenues, I would like, my residents are asking me to stop this business. I want to make that clear. They're saying, Mario, what can you do to stop this? And I said, well, let me ask the attorneys. If we can have a report from the staff at our next meeting, I want some research to see if there's ever been an incident in another city, so we can engage with that city government, municipality, and figure out how they did it. I imagine there must be some strategies out there, and I need to make these available to the residents. But thank you for answering our questions today, Jim.
I have another comment. It's related to the business, not to the attire. This particular place is falling apart while it's being demolished, and it needs to be taken care. I do not know how or who do we have to contact, but if anyone goes around, you can see that all the fences are falling apart. Thank you.
So let's get back to the ordinance.
Yes.
Please. We'd like to hear the council's feedback on the ordinance, reviewing the provisions, and maybe this is where Jim can go through the ordinance for you, and then we can get some feedback about it.
So thank you. So the ordinance is actually fairly simple. It's literally designed to regulate the attire. This is the
Yes.
Mr. Trujillo. This is the attire that was submitted by the defense counsel, or by the business's attorney, as to what their standard uniform or outfit would be for servers. And what they did indicate was that this was modeled off of cheerleaders, because they envision themselves as a sports bar with sports themes, and so this was modeled after cheerleaders.
As a father of a 23-year-old young lady, I want the residents to hear this because, you try to keep your daughter off the pole, right? When you raise your young girls. And I'm offended that this corporation wants to come here because I know what they do in Texas, right? So I look at this, yeah, it's kind of cute, but I'm already blurred by these people and what they do with young ladies and how they objectify women. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even think I would want Hooters here in Downey. So I want to make that clear. We don't need the tax money that bad. So if corporate is listening, take your tax dollars elsewhere, man. It's just not Downey. So maybe somebody should tell the general counsel what I said and let them know that I'm going to see if we could organize our residents, because I just don't trust them. Any chance they're going to get, they try to objectify our young ladies. So I'm not too persuaded by this alleged uniform standard, but I'm ranting. Thank you.
So going back to the ordinance is actually very simple and very straightforward. It's designed to regulate the attire for all food handlers. Those would be people working at food establishments that provide, handle, prepare, serve food or drinks. The attire, again, is very simple. It prohibits the exposure of certain areas of the body. Some of those areas would deem it to be adult entertainment or adult businesses, and so therefore, obviously, we prohibit that sort of activity. And if you're looking at the proposed code, that would be under 4991 subsection A1 and subsection A2. Those things are basically what define adult businesses. So obviously, we prohibit that sort of attire. Subsections 3, 4, and 5 are additional portions that would prohibit exposure of the midriff. It would expose exposure of any portion of the chest that is more than 3 inches below the clavicle, and would also expose any portion of the legs that is less than 3 inches below the buttocks. Those would be the areas that are covered. They would be illegal to expose that as for any type of food handler. The only exemption to this would be if they are at an a permitted adult entertainment establishment. That would be an actual adult entertainment location that has all the required city approvals and permits, would obviously not be subject to this regulation. But that's it. The penalties are set forth in there. They would be subject to different types of penalties, which include administrative remedies, such as administrative fines. Those fines are proposed to be $250 for a first offense, $500 for a second offense, $1,000 for a third offense, all within a 12-month period of time. The city would also have the ability simultaneously or subsequent to the issuance of administrative citations to seek to commence the procedures to revoke a business license or any other type of entitlement or permit that they have, which would include the CUP, but it also includes just their general business license, and would provide the city with any other available remedy that's already available at law. And it's really that simple. And I'm available to answer any questions that the council may have.
Yeah. So if we did this, assuming we approved this, I mean, the likelihood of getting sued over it, I think, is somewhat great. But what are our chances of prevailing in this?
What I can tell you is that the Ninth Circuit has specifically determined that the regulation of attire for waiters and waitresses who are serving food is not subject to First Amendment protections. Therefore, the regulation that we've done does two things. One is it's an exercise of our police powers. Number two is it follows very closely the law that was actually upheld by the Ninth Circuit. I will say it's actually a little bit less than what was upheld by the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit in that particular city, they not only prohibited, so where we prohibit the midriff, which is defined as the front portion of the body between the chest and the waist, they also prohibited the back, every portion of the back below the shoulder blades. We did not go that far. But everything else that we've got covered was also covered in the case that was upheld by the Ninth Circuit. And that was to be determined that that was a valid regulation by the city of Everett.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Jim, I've got a couple of questions for you regarding Section 4992 violation and penalties. First, under Section B, that discusses the amounts. I think these amounts, the average amounts, I think these really don't do a whole lot. It would seem to me a slap in the wrist. How did we come up with the violation amount? And then secondly, where in this section do we discuss how many times can an establishment be cited? And I think Councilmember Alvarez brought this up earlier. How many times can an establishment be cited for violations before the process moves to revoke the CUP?
So I'm going to actually attack that in a backwards order just for discussion's sake. There is no legal minimum amount of times that they need to be cited before we bring them before a procedure for the revocation of the CUP or of the business license. So technically, we don't need to issue administrative citations at all. We could proceed directly to a revocation if we have sufficient evidence to show that they're otherwise breaking the law, which would be a ground for the revocation of either the CUP or of the business license. Naturally, I will tell you, typically you don't go in to revoke an entitlement, whether it's a business license or a conditional use permit, for what might be deemed a singular minor infraction. And I use that term not from a criminal standpoint of infraction versus misdemeanor, but a minor violation. So typically what you're looking for is some type of history, some pattern of behavior before you go in and you revoke something that's been granted by the city, whether a business license or a conditional use permit. But from a legal standpoint, there is no legal minimum. And there's no requirement that we pursue the issuance of administrative citations before we go forward with the revocation of one of the others. It's an option that the city can either do simultaneously or one in lieu of the other. With respect to the violation amounts, you asked if, number one, this is the average amount. No. Currently, the average amount for most administrative citations in our city is $100 for a first violation, $200 for a second violation, and $500, I believe, for a third violation within a 12-month period of time. If it goes above and beyond a third violation, it stays at the $500 rank. So this is actually twice as much as what is current for other administrative violations of our municipal code.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And then I do have one more question, and that is, well, number one, I would propose to double those amounts. I think those amounts are meaningless at times. And again, I do hope the the owners of this establishment, their corporate office, is watching or can watch this clip. But if we're so focused on these violation and penalties, is because certainly we are displeased with them coming to our city. But the last question I have is, what other states or cities have introduced such an ordinance? Because again, for some people, it may, how is it that a city, and I'm playing the devil's advocate here, how is it that a city can regulate attire for food handlers? And Jim, you explained that, food handlers, people delivering the food, but what other cities, Yvette, perhaps this question is for you, have these type of ordinances in place and they've been successful at that?
We did do a survey of cities here in California, and the results were mixed. We found some cities that regulated food handlers and prohibited them exposing their midriff. And that was it. There were some that required hairnets and other things like that for safety issues. It was very a mixed bag, but it was not anything like this ordinance. And I would venture to say this is probably the first.
In California?
In California, yes.
So, did you consider that perhaps we shouldn't enact an ordinance? Is there any recommendation on your behalf of in this area? I mean, I don't want to head towards, look, if we're going to head towards lawsuits, I want to know, but this is a part where I had to ask you.
You're asking for my legal recommendation?
Yes.
Look, what I will tell you is, again, what I said earlier, which is the Ninth Circuit has upheld a similar type regulation, a regulation that actually went a little bit further than what we are doing. The one distinction between what the Ninth Circuit dealt with and what we are proposing is that the case out of the city of Everett only applied to basically fast food type restaurants, not to sit down restaurants. What we are proposing obviously expands that and goes on to all dining establishments. But as far as the actual regulation itself, it is not protected by the First Amendment, not as it relates to servers of food. And so from that, this is a valid police regulation. So, I mean, from a legal standpoint, we are on solid ground based off the Ninth Circuit decision.
So if we adopt this ordinance, are we now having our police officers having to check for midriffs?
So then the question comes in is how we do enforcement. And our recommended enforcement is this is really more of an administrative issue. This would likely be referred to the code enforcement department or one of the, or maybe even planning in certain instances, because it would be code enforcement who would typically issue out the administrative citations. It would be the planning department who would be involved in revocation of conditional use permits. Clearly, if we had a location that is, and I don't want to speak for the police department, but if we have a business that has created enough of a problem for the city, I'm sure the police department would be involved in what it is. But I don't think that we would want the police department focusing on this as a primary mission to go out there and confirm whether or not a waiter or waitress is exposing a midriff. I would expect that would be submitted to one of our other departments who would be dealing with the enforcement end of it.
But then essentially, we're creating a law, right? A policy, well, law, since that's what this council does. We're a legislative body. But at the same time, we're saying we may not enforce it.
No, I'm not indicating that it wouldn't be enforced. To the contrary, what I'm saying is the departments that would be utilized to enforce it would likely be the planning and or the code enforcement. I would expect that if the police department is already responding to the location, they're going to note what they see at the location, but I wouldn't expect every time a call comes in that it be routed to the police department so that they're diverting their attention from other locations to confirm whether or not someone is exposing a midriff.
And that was my concern. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Actually, can we bring up the picture again? The photo of the
cheerleader?
Of
the cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
Sir.
Sorry.
We've got to go to the back.
So my question is going to be this, in respect to the midriff. In the picture, it was depicted that there was the female was showing her midriff. So that would mean that area would have to be covered up.
In looking at this photograph, I would indicate to you that the uniform would not comply with the proposed ordinance. The midriff is being exposed. The blouse probably hangs too low from what our ordinance proposes, which is 3 inches below the clavicle. I cannot see behind her, which is, again, you can't expose, the leg has to be covered basically from 3 inches from the buttocks and the top part of that leg. I can't see behind, but I have seen some of the other photos that are on Instagram, and I will tell you that it doesn't look like the skirt would be long enough to cover the areas that need to be covered under the proposed ordinance. So my answer to the question that you didn't yet ask, but is I do not believe that this uniform in any way, shape, or form would actually comply with the proposed ordinance.
And I am assuming the owners are probably not happy with this proposed ordinance.
They are not, and they have drafted a letter to the city council, I believe it was received today, expressing their displeasure with this and also proposing that this would be where they want to stick with and not go into the lingerie and bikini stuff. But again, even with this, it would be in violation of the proposed ordinance.
Okay, and I did read the letter, and they are saying they're going to sue the city if we proceed with this ordinance, correct? I think they've threatened us with litigation. Is that correct?
Verbally.
They verbally did it in a
Yesterday.
telephone conference, yes.
Yesterday,
Okay.
yes.
So, I mean, are we supposed to engage in a conversation about whether Sean's okay seeing midriff or Catherine? Or how does this go?
How does?
Open discussion for the
And
council.
that's why I'm concerned that we're headed down a slippery slope and that we're better off not having an ordinance. And I don't know, I mean, I would think we should consider that, right?
If I can
Why
at least
not
just say
have-
one thing is that with respect to this, if you were not to adopt this ordinance, there would still be things that are already prohibited under our law, which is obviously exposure of genitals, exposure of the butt, exposure of the areola portion of the breast. So there are certain areas that are already prohibited because if they expose those areas, they would be deemed adult business and therefore would be subject to the regulations we already have in place. But the additional areas are not covered.
I still think this ordinance is needed.
One more question, kind of related to what Councilmember Fermetta brought up as far as the fines. So, assuming we have a restaurant where somebody does not meet the code, who pays that fine? Who gets that fine? Is it the person who's wearing the attire, or is it the owner or the manager of said business?
It could be both. So both of them are technically responsible under the code, one for dressing in that attire and one for allowing that dress to be in that attire. So again, that's an issue for the enforcement at that point in time, but legally, both of them would be responsible.
And we can't
As could be-
differentiate between the two?
You mean as far as the fine?
Yeah, I mean, like, here, I don't think that, like, in this situation, we're looking at this picture. I don't think this person has full control over what they are allowed to wear to have the job at that location.
I
So-
would say that you're accurate if they want that job at that location.
If they want that job so I don't see the fairness in trying to fine the person who's wearing it, especially if it's a uniform. I mean, if it's like a place where you can wear whatever, there's not a specific uniform, I could see how fining the person as well as the business, but in this case, it's a uniform. The company is saying you need to wear this to work, to do this job. Then I think.
So I will say that I believe the way that they define this picture as the suggested uniform. I'm not 100% sure under their contract, their employment stuff, exactly how much of this can deviate. But if you read some of the captions for some of this stuff, they say, we recommend this, we propose this. But going back to what you're saying, what the city does have the ability to do is utilize its discretion with respect to, am I going to counsel someone? Am I going to give them a warning? Am I going to issue them a citation? That, yes, the city could take a position, even with the fine, the way the fine structure as it is structured right now, could say, okay, this is the first time we're dealing with this particular waitress or waiter. We're going to issue a warning, but to the business, because we've already warned you, we're going to issue you the citation. So the city has the discretion to be able to deal with that. But obviously, you know, from an enforcement standpoint, I'm going to say if I have somebody who shows up to work every single day dressed in a uniform that we've already prohibited, at some point, enforcement is appropriate. Because they do have the option of not taking that particular job. I mean, one can always make the argument that if I want the job, then I've got to do a particular thing. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there that may want you to do something illegal. And I would expect that if they want you to do something that's in violation of law, at some point, you're not going to take that job.
Any other questions or comments from my council colleagues? No?
So with that, and kind of going back to the fine thing, I do like the idea of increasing the fine. I think that's appropriate. Like, so it was like, what did you say it was? 200?
Currently, it's 250, 500, and 1,000. And by the
Okay.
way, this also does allow the council to revisit that issue. So it's set at those standards, that structure under the code. But it also says that the amount can be modified from time to time by resolution or ordinance of the city council. So like with our other administrative fines, it's something that the council can always revisit at any point in time to increase or decrease. If you weren't sure of where you want to go to start off with.
Okay. But we would have to kind of bring the whole resolution back again to look at, to say, hey, we want to increase the fines on this. So we'd have to bring back the whole resolution.
Not
Or to
the
be
ordinance,
something-
just a resolution for a fine.
Okay, so then like sometimes we do the administrative
Yes.
fees and the such.
We
So
do it every
kind of
year.
we can look at it during that time as well.
Absolutely,
And-
absolutely.
Is there any way that we can bring the resolution as soon as possible for next meeting?
If
we
you
can do it
adopt
now.
it,
Do it now.
if you
We're
adopt,
done.
you can
Oh,
either
we can
make,
do it
We can do it now.
Yeah, you can
and
either
then-
make the change now, and you can either adopt it with the fine as is. You can modify the fine right now, and we wouldn't need to bring back a resolution unless there's a desire to change it again at some point in the future.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I would like to propose that we double those fines. Again, I think fines are meant to not only give a citation, but they need to be more meaningful. And again, I think the way they are, I don't think they do much. So I would like to recommend that we double those fines and that those would be included if this council chooses to adopt this resolution, that it would be adopted with that amendment.
So instead of 250, it would be 500. Instead of 500, it would be 1,000. And instead of 1,000, it would be 2,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So,
If that's a motion, I'll make the second.
If you're all okay with that change, we'll note it. We want to take any other changes, and then you can just introduce the ordinance with the modifications to 4992 with the changes in the fee amounts. So introduce the ordinance as modified.
Yes.
okay. So I believe there was an introduction of the,
Was there any other changes to the ordinance that you wanted to visit or discuss? Was everybody good with it?
was pretty
Okay.
straightforward for
Okay.
the most part.
Okay.
okay, so I have a motion to introduce the ordinance with modifications, and then there was a second. Madam City Clerk, can we take a roll call vote, please, on item number 10?
Before you do that, the modifications were at 4992, where it says $250, would say $500. Where it says $500, it would say $1,000. And where it said $1,000, that would be $2,000.
And is there any way that, before we close this, to amend that in a number of citations? To clarify the number of citations, so we can revoke the business?
I actually would recommend that
You
you not do
don't.
that from an enforcement standpoint, because then you're locking us into making sure that we meet that minimum standard,
Okay.
as opposed to leaving it blank, where again, if we show up one night and everybody there is in the inappropriate attire, the city council or the city may decide to move forward with a revocation at that time and not wait for X number of citations.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Okay. So can we please
Thanks,
take a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez,
Aye.
Councilmember Ashton,
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mayor Pacheco.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously.
The ordinance will return on March 22nd for adoption. After that, there'll be a 30-day waiting period, and the ordinance will go into effect.
Jim, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
waiting around, and thank you so much for your professionalism.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jim.
You got it.
Okay, the next two items are administrative reports. Item number 11 is the appointment of new mayor pro tem for the remainder of 2022. Madam City, I think, do I have any? Actually, Madam City Attorney, can you take this item?
So this item is for the council to discuss appointing a mayor pro tem. As you know, last meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Ashton relinquished his title as mayor pro tem and tendered his resignation. So the mayor pro temship is now vacant, and it'll be up to the council to decide on appointing someone else on the council to serve as mayor pro tem till the end of the term.
So if I may, I'd like to go ahead and nominate Councilmember Mario Trujillo to be Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, but I decline the nomination.
I would like to make a motion to nominate myself for Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll go ahead and
as-
say. I'll second that motion.
I wanted to say something about it. I think it's time to nominate Mario Trujillo, myself. Even though Mario already said no, but I really wanted to nominate myself because we switch every year, and we give the opportunity to each one of the council members to be nominated for something. And Claudia Frometa was already pro tem. And Blanca has been mayor 2 times. I don't know if there any way that any can change the way of thinking, but I think it's the right thing to do.
I'm sorry, so what's the current motion?
So the current motion made by Councilmember Frometa was to nominate herself as mayor pro tem, with a second by Mayor Pacheco.
And then I think Councilmember Alvarez was asking for
you to reconsider.
reconsider, correct?
Yes.
She was asking for you to reconsider being mayor pro tem.
Reconsider you being mayor pro tem or me to nominate
Or you.
myself. Yes.
Okay, well, I decline the nomination.
Okay.
Okay.
If there are no other motions on the floor,
So,
take a roll call.
so if this doesn't pass, then we could nominate somebody else?
Correct.
Okay.
Can we
You know,
please?
and I think if I may, I think it's just the reason I wanted to nominate myself. In all fairness, is it's not just because I want the title again. Yes, I was mayor pro tem, just as Mayor Pacheco was mayor in 2020. As you know, our world changed, and the world of Zoom and the world of shutdowns took over our lives. Both Mayor Pacheco and I navigated the most challenging time. Even as mayor last year, you all know we continued to be via Zoom, and our world was still in a state of flux through the middle of last year. I think we gave Mayor Pacheco a second opportunity at the mayorship, but also at this point in time, Councilmember Alvarez, the reason I went ahead to nominate myself is because with Councilmember Ashton resigning, I, as the most senior member of the council at this point in time, and with the flux and the challenging situations that we may be facing with Mayor Pacheco running for state assembly and the lack of stability that our city is facing at the current time. I think it's important for us to have someone that has been on council a little bit longer. And that is my reasoning. And I think having a second opportunity to serve as Mayor Pro Tem to be able to pick up where I left off, considering 2020, Mayor Pacheco and I had a very challenging year, and our world was very different. Thank you.
Okay, can we take a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez?
No.
Councilmember Ashton?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain. Councilmember Frometa?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
No.
Mayor Pacheco?
Yes.
The motion fails with Councilmember Alvarez, Councilmember Trujillo voting no, Councilmember Ashton abstaining, and Councilmember Frometa and Pacheco voting yes.
I'd like to make a motion. I nominate Councilwoman Alvarez for Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Councilmember Ashton?
I will abstain.
Councilmember Frometa?
No.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacheco?
Yes.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Ashton abstaining and Councilmember Frometa voting no.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Alvarez is our Mayor Pro Tem.
The next item is to consider creating a city council subcommittee to discuss rent stabilization and appoint 2 members of the city council to serve on the subcommittee.
Thank you.
Item number 12 was requested by Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez. Mayor Pro Tem, is it official? Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez, you may proceed. Yes. Sorry.
You want me to say something?
Yeah, it's your item. The subcommittee.
Item 12.
Regarding
Item
12.
Okay, so I want to bring this item because I have seen the renters and landlords being in conflict in one way and another. Just today, I had a call from one of the tenants. She is disabled. Her mother, it's a working class, and she was telling me that there was no way for her to pay rent and pay food and her insurance to be living in Downey for the amount of money that she has to pay for rent. And it's not only the first or second or third case that I can hear from renters. And it's not the first time that I can hear from landlords saying that I'm against them or that I wanted to bring any ordinances against them. There's nothing related to that. I just wanted to have a subcommittee so we can all together talk about it and bring ideas in how to have a rent stabilization for the people in the community of Downey, because as we know, there's 50% of tenants that lives in Downey, and the other 50% is homeowners. That concludes my comment.
So I think you're proposing to create a subcommittee.
Agree.
Okay.
Council members, I would recommend that if you want to create this subcommittee, that this be an advisory group. So this group would study the issue and bring recommendations back to the full council. So this is an advisory body subject to the Brown Act. So they'd have to post agendas, and I'm sure that's not something you would be opposed to, because the more public input, the better.
Of course.
So this would be a Brown Act body as well. So that would be my recommendation if you wanted to create the subcommittee.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any
Comments?
questions from my council colleagues? Questions or comments?
I don't know who would be willing to serve on it, but if there's two people that are willing to serve, I'll second the motion.
Why don't we take a motion to create the subcommittee, and if that passes, then you can talk about who you'd like to sit on the subcommittee.
Okay, is there a motion?
Can we just kind of take care of it all in one shot?
If you approve, sure, I mean, if there's a way to bifurcate them, I just thought that would be a little cleaner, but however you'd like to, proceed.
Because if, and not to be rude about this, but if we don't have two people that are willing to sit on it, then we don't really have the ability to have this committee, so.
Are there two people that were willing to sit on this?
Can I appoint Mario?
I think he would have to want to agree.
I need to understand what the purpose is of a rent stabilization advisory group. I mean, we want to stabilize our rents
Yes.
and make them more affordable.
Yes.
Sounds like rent control to me.
Of course. Look, the way that I'm seeing this is to sit down with both sides and see how it's affecting the community.
And everything we do will come to the approval of the full council.
Of course.
Sure. I'm willing to sit on the rent stabilization committee for, would it be the remainder of this year? Or when would we switch? Or when is this committee good till?
Can it be switched every year?
Well, we do it every January, I
Oh,
think.
okay,
is
so it'd
when
be
we
till
change.
January.
We change, or we take a look at the appointments in January.
Sure. I think the issue of rent is an important one, specifically since my constituency, as a representative of the entire city, is made up, I understand, by 50% renters. I would be more than glad to sit in this committee and study the issues that affect that population.
Thank you.
Or maybe what can be done, and just offering an alternative, is maybe not calling it a rent stabilization, maybe calling it something else.
Yeah, I don't think
Yes,
the
I-
name of it matters. We
No.
can call it the fun time for rent.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the-
I mean, the name of it, like, the purpose of it is to look at the issues that are within the city, and dealing with rents that are going up significantly, and what the city can do to help people with those issues. And I think that's the purpose of this.
Very
So call it what you want. I think we have a committee. I think we have two people that are willing to serve on it, and if that's the case, I'll go ahead and make the second to
How about-
consider this.
How about the Renters' Rights Board?
Something like that. I was
Renters'
thinking.
Rights Board. I'll tell you why. I really would also like to address issues such as parking displacement, such as the dumpster issue, right? Now I think there's something going on with cable.
Yes, with the internet.
So I call it renters' rights or protection, something like that, because that is important to me.
Yes.
So yes, we can call it whatever
We
we
can-
want, but renters' rights or renters' issues board, yes, I just don't want, because half of my constituency are, renters' rights, and rent stabilization sounds like it's renters' rights. I mean,
Rent control.
rent control, and I be clear on the issue, Councilwoman. You know, I don't want to mislead you, but I'd be more than glad to sit on that, and especially if we're looking at gamut issues to improve the quality of life of our renters. Absolutely, count on me.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Sure.
Okay, so is there a motion to create a renters rights board? Is that the name?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
There a motion and a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk Duarte, can we take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. So are we doing two separate motions?
No.
Just one?
It's a
So I
motion
have
to-
Councilmember Trujillo and Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Councilmember Ashton?
Yes.
Councilmember Frometa?
I think she left.
We lost her.
Councilmember Frometa is absent. Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacheco?
Yes.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Frometa absent.
Thank you. City Manager Olivas, do you have any comments?
Madam Mayor, I do want to express my gratitude to Public Works Department, who've really been handling a lot of things lately. But I know the parking's a little crazy outside of City Hall, but if you take a peek on the roofs from the second or third floors, you can see the solar panels going up at our city facilities, which is really neat. And then if you drive around town, you see a lot of construction on our residential streets where a lot of the bond money is going to, finally get those residential streets up to snuff. So a lot of great stuff going on in our infrastructure. So thank you, Delfino. Appreciate your help out there. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will adjourn the meeting in memory of former Downey Mayor Bob Davila, who passed away at 94. He was the first Latino mayor to be elected in the city of Downey and also a dear friend of mine. And Jalen Conish, 17, Warren High School student and football player, the victims of the Ukraine crisis and the lives lost due to COVID-19. A moment of silence. Meeting adjourned.